Hello everyone. I thought this video would be dating, trying to date when you have a mental illness. I might get bipolar disorder. And if you see me doing this, it's because the Cubs game is on and they're kind of kicking the crap out of the Cardinals, which is warms my heart. But anyway, like, how is dating different, like, or anything with like mental illness? The reality is, it really isn't different at all. I mean, for me personally, it really hasn't been. There's just some things that you're not going to be able to do and that are going to be hampering the other person. And that's the one thing you have to remember. You have to recognize your limitations. I think it's my thing, because otherwise it's pretty much the same. You still have to deal with the same cool stuff. You still have to deal with the same dumb stuff. You know what I mean? And trust me, in the dating world, there seems to be a lot more dumb stuff than good stuff. But you still have to deal with all of that crap still. It's not any different. The biggest thing though is that, like I said, you have to realize your limitations, what you're comfortable with and what you can. And sometimes you're not going to know that right off the bat. Especially say if you haven't dated in a while and you're kind of on the right track, you have to know what you're capable of and what you can handle, what you can't handle. Like for me personally, like going and meeting somewhere at a bar, it's like I can't do that. That's not something I do because I don't drink. Because I like being sane. But I don't drink, and some people have that same thing, like you can't drink because of mental illness, so you can't go certain places. Like I can't go to a bar. But actually I could, but it's just, for me, I just can't do that. I can't sit around and drink, and that's how most people meet up other people, and that's how, like, a lot of times, like, you go after, like, dinner or something. So that's one thing I can't do, and, like, people with anxiety, sometimes they can't do certain things. Like, they can't go in a really crowded public place, or some place that's loud, and you have to recognize your limitations and see if the other person is cool with doing something that they normally would do. And that's really one of the trickiest parts when you date someone, when you have something like that, like a mental illness like that. Like for me, it's like drinking. I just can't do that. And so you have to try to find like that common ground. And that's the most difficult part that I find is that trying to find something that you're comfortable with and that the other person is comfortable with as well. And it's the most difficult thing, especially if the other person loves going to dive bars all the time, which I don't do. Like, you know what I mean? Or like, if the person likes going to these crowded places and events and you have some really bad anxiety, then you have to try to find a way to work a way around that, and that's really tough. That's the most toughest part in my opinion. In addition to that too, and sometimes like with mental illness, it will like just come at you out of the blue, and that's another thing that maybe kind of sucks is that you kind of always have to have that in the back of your head, like to make sure that you're in a good place before you actually even think about going out with anyone. You know what I mean? Like I have been on dates when I was really depressed before, and I gotta tell you, I really wish I hadn't went out on those dates because those were really bad on my part because I wasn't myself. I wasn't my normal funny, awkwardly charming person. Apparently, that's the way it works with me. And so when I was really depressed, me going on a date was not the greatest idea in the world. I mean, and I've had it like where I went on a date with someone who was also depressed, and I was like, oh wow, this is kind of how probably I am when I'm on a date. It's when you have mental illness, you make sure that you're good with yourself before you think about going on a date with other people or attending something or going on this date because trust me, it's just not gonna end well for you. It's not gonna go well. Like when I went on this date when I was horribly depressed, I just remember how bad it was. Like I was just really quiet, didn't say anything. The date was really awkward, more awkward. I'm used to awkwardness, but that was even like 10 times more awkward. And at the end of it, I just realized like I'm not probably in a position that I should be dating. I need to get myself straightened out first. And that's another piece of advice. Make sure that you have most of your crap and baggage like in check before you go out. Because like I said, it's not gonna end well. It's not gonna go well, it's not gonna end well, and things will happen like that. He missed the ball, sorry. But, that's another piece of advice. And then the other thing is when people are trying to disclose information. That's another thing too. That people really get up in arms of should I tell this person now? When should I tell this person? When should I not tell this person? That's another big thing too. And for me personally, like I don't tell the person I have bipolar disorder on the first date, or you know what I mean. I tell the person that I have it when things are maybe starting to get a little more serious. Say like, things are maybe going to another level or starting to go to another level. That's when I like, okay, I need to tell the person because if I'm gonna get serious with this person, then they kind of need to know what they're getting themselves into. And if they don't, and if they're not they're not cool with that, or they're like, oh, that scares them away, then my thing is just like, well, fuck them then. I guess they were assholes to begin with. You know what I mean? But I typically don't do it don't tell the person on the first day, second date, but like when things are starting to kind of ramp up, like say we've started kissing or making out, or where, you know what I mean, things are getting more serious and I notice that, then I'll like put a stop and I'll tell them right there. And for the most part, it's going really well. Like, no one has ever said anything. I've gotten like the whole, oh, I know one of my friend has that, or you're on medication, or oh, but you're on medication. They're like, yeah, yeah. Like, oh, that's not a problem. You're taking care of it, or sometimes they'll say, oh man, like I have actually a really bad anxiety, or like one recent person was like, I have really, I actually have PTSD and some anxiety issues as well that I actually had to take medication for, and so those are the type of reactions that I've gotten, and nothing really bad. And like I said, the reason I don't tell the person on the first date is because it's the first date. I mean, that's like, why would I reveal something that personal on the first date? You know what I mean? That's kind of like, if you're on a first date, do you go and say, yeah, I take 3 dumps a day? No, I mean, do you talk about, say, childhood trauma? Yeah, I was abused really badly when I was a kid, and you go into great detail and tell that person no crap on the first date to someone you just like, you're still barely getting to know? I mean, no, you don't tell people really a lot of personal crap when you're just barely getting to know them. You know what I mean? So that's the way I view it. That's why I don't tell the person on the first date or in the beginning stages, because I'm still getting to know this person, and it's not going into a little more into kind of serious territory or ramping up, And so why am I going to reveal all this like that personal stuff, like bipolar disorder? Why would anyone reveal personal crap to someone that is still essentially sort of a stranger, and you're still getting to know them? It makes, you know what I mean? That's the way I view it. It makes no sense. I treat that like I would treat, I don't know, I guess my religious habit, or like, like I said, like any personal things. I'm pretty sure other people have personal stuff too, like, addresses or whatnot, how much money to make, whatever. That's all personal stuff. You wouldn't tell that person to a stranger. To a stranger when you're just barely getting to know someone. And I kind of see telling someone about a mental illness the same way. I see it the same way. Like, yeah, not until you actually get to know the person a little more and it starts getting serious. But other than that, that's how dating is. I mean, there you go. It's like I said, you just have to make sure that you're in the right place with yourself, first of all, before you think of going out, because if you're not in a good place, then you're not gonna find success dating, and you need to work on yourself and be good with yourself before you go on a date. So that's one. Two, you need to recognize your limitations as well. Like, maybe you can't do this, you can't do that. You need to recognize your limitations and just remember that before like meeting someone or getting involved with someone. Like, what exactly can you handle, what cannot handle? Make sure you have a handle on that. And then the other thing is just like disclosure. I mean, personally, I've already said what I do, and it's up to the other person whether or not they want to say it on the first date. Some people like just getting it out of the way. Other people don't. I'm like one of those that like, not until it starts getting serious, then I'll start saying something. But yeah, and that's really it. Otherwise, dating is pretty much the same thing. Like, you start to deal with the same bullcrap. You start to deal with the same like kind of creeps, and you start to deal with the same really cool people and like the games and stuff like that, and almost like playing chess. You start to deal with all of that. That's not going to change. But yeah, so it's not really anything different. Thanks for watching.